Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where in today's episode, another insane Karen thinks it's a great idea to assault an 11-year-old over a seat at a movie theater. Guys, the stories, as always, will leave you shaking your heads, so get ready for another wild ride, and do hit that subscribe button for future tales. My brother and his wife got married 2 months ago, and they had a destination wedding. Unfortunately, none of our side except a cousin could attend due to multiple valid reasons, which I'm gonna list a few here. My grandparents couldn't come because they were too old. Our parents couldn't come because my mom has breast cancer and my dad takes full care of her. Myself and our youngest brother's girlfriend are heavily pregnant. And our older brothers and aunts are busy doctors who have to be extra careful. Everyone else either couldn't afford it or couldn't afford to take 2 weeks off. We tried to explain to them the situation months before the wedding, but we were hit with, our wedding, our rules. If you don't like it, don't come. We asked to be able to help in any way we could, but a few weeks before the wedding, their attitudes changed and we were told that they would prefer to go low contact because we weren't coming to the wedding, which meant that we did not support their marriage. I even begged to pay for the bridesmaid dresses, but my brother told me that he didn't want my money. He wanted me to be at his day. Now, I tried to explain to him that his wedding was 4 days before my due date. He ended up screaming at me, calling me a spoiled, entitled brat, and then blocking me. They did similar stuff with everybody else. They even went as far as getting my extremely sick mother upset to the point that my father stopped talking to my brother. So on to the next situation. After months of passive-aggressive posts on social media and bride and groomzilla tantrums, they wanted to make up with everybody due to my mom finding out extremely heartbreaking news that she only has 6 months left to live. We all ended up having dinner at my family home tonight with everybody being extremely cold to my brother and his wife. No one really cared to listen to stories about their wedding, nor looked at their wedding photos, and my brother lost it. My brother ended up asking why we were all being such dicks. My youngest brother told him that tonight wasn't the time, and then he walked out. My oldest said that when mom died, he would never speak to him again, but due to the fact that I'm his only sister, he seemed more mad and upset at me. So I told him, "You got your big day, now you have to deal with the consequences." Hearing that, my brother and sister-in-law got extremely upset, and they stormed off. My mother asked what happened, but we told her that he wasn't feeling well and needed to leave. My brother sent me a heartbreaking email afterwards on how he felt so rejected that we weren't at his wedding. He did not apologize. So the brother and his wife definitely sound super entitled, guys. Like, even after he stormed out of the dinner with their dying mom, he still had the nerve to send OP an email saying that he felt hurt and he felt rejected. Like, boo-hoo, you don't get to say, if you don't like it, then don't come, and then act all victim about it. Also, I'm pretty sure that airlines don't let super pregnant women fly. If I recall correctly, you're not even supposed to fly in the last trimester, let alone 4 days from the due date. Brother needs to rethink this through and apologize to his family members before they all abandon him, which they've pretty much done already. So on this day, I was sitting at a table at my local coffee shop, drinking coffee. I'm using my laptop with my earbuds in. I then feel a tap on my shoulder, and I look up to find a 30-something couple staring at me. I take an earbud out and say, "Yes?" To which the woman replies, "Hi, can we sit here please?" I replied, "Oh, sure," and try to slide myself and my stuff over as far as I can. The table's built for 2, but you can fit 3 if you try. The couple then sets their belongings on the floor. A minute or so goes by and I feel another tap on my shoulder. The conversation goes as such. I answered, "Yes." The woman says, "So we're gonna sit down now." They're holding lattes in their hand. I then say, "All right." She says, "Aren't you gonna move?" I asked, "Why?" To which the Karen says, "You said that we can sit here." At this point, I clarify and said, "I meant you could sit with me." Her boyfriend then lets out a laugh while Karen says, "There's not enough room for 3 here. You have to move." I tell them that they can sit here if they'd like, with me, or they can find somewhere else to sit. I don't know. Karen then says, "There's nowhere else to sit. We've got our coffees to stay because you were giving us your table and now you're not moving?" I say to them, "I don't know. You can sit here with me if you'd like. That's up to you." I then put my earbuds back in. So I go back to what I was doing and look up 30 seconds later and they're still staring at me. 3 minutes or so later, they're across the room staring at me and talking to each other. And 5 minutes later, they're sitting at a newly vacated table. I leave probably 15 minutes later, and as I pass their table, the woman blurts out, "Have a very nice rest of the day, sir." It seemed very sarcastic. Like, with that sarcastic comment, guys, I totally would have sat down at their table right then and there and went, "Oh, I'm not leaving. I'm so glad you found us a better table. Now move your stuff over. I have to sit down." So this happened recently, so the details are fairly sharp. I live in a country where you can order food online and decide to pay online or by cash. Once you order, someone on a moped or bike delivers it to your house. I delivered by bike, and someone orders a huge order for around 40 euros. It was a rainy day, and it was almost the end of my shift, so I was already agitated even before hearing the order. All the mopeds were already on delivery, so I had to use a bike to cycle 5 kilometers to her address, in the rain. So once I get to her house, I'm soaked, and even more angry because when I go up to the door, some random guy opens up. The woman puts in the wrong address, so I dialed the phone number she had on file and found out that I needed to cycle for another 2 kilometers. Once I get to the actual house, I had to wait for her to open the door, and then the most typical Karen you can think of opens the door. Immediately, she starts with, "Yeah, that took you a while." Now, judging by the tone of her voice, I knew she was going to demand some sort of compensation or something. And I say, "Yeah, it's raining outside and I had to cycle here and the address you inputted originally wasn't correct. It doesn't matter, I'm here and so is your food." I say that with my best fake smile. She says, "That's great." She proceeds to rip the food out of my hand and proceeded to close the door. And I say, "You still need to pay 40 euro. She says, "The food is cold. I'm not paying." "Ma'am, you have to pay. It's raining, and you made me go to the wrong address." She says, "That's not my problem." "Well, it sort of is. You have to pay." The woman then says to me, "Are you gonna give me new warm food? Because I will pay for warm food. I'm not paying for cold food." To which I respond, "I can't just make warm food in front of your house." "Well, you'd better find a way, or I'm gonna call your boss." Now, a little bit about my boss. The guy's a legend. So I say, "Go ahead. He will gladly tell you that I can't make food in front of your house, and that you need to wait a long time for a new order to arrive, so either you pay now or you get the food later." The Karen then says, "But I want my food now. The only way that you're leaving with my money is if you can give me warm food right now." I told her I can't help her, and then she starts yelling at me saying, "I'm gonna call your boss and tell him that you're being rude. You can come in and hear what he has to say." Now, I gladly step into the house to avoid the rain because it was still raining, and there was no roof where I was standing. She then puts her phone on speaker, and my boss says, "Hey, what can I do for you?" She then says, "Yeah, hello. I have a very rude delivery guy at my house right now, and my food is cold." To which my boss responds, "That doesn't surprise me. You initially put in the wrong address." She says, "So, I deserve warm food." My boss then tells her that that needs to be made, and she asked, "How long will it take?" Boss then tells her 40 minutes, it's really busy, and she throws a fit saying, "I want my food now." My boss and I both tell her that she's gonna have to wait. And at this point, she then tells my boss that I forced my way into her house and that I made her floor wet, and now there's no chance that she's paying for her food. My boss tells me to get out of the house and then tells the woman, "You're not gonna get any food from us anymore." So I left. I took the order with me while the woman yelled after me. My boss got back on the phone with me and told me that I could still eat the food, which was kind of warm still. Once I got back, he throws a beer at me and I clocked out. The lady calls the store a couple of times and screamed at my boss. I hope I never see her again, that idiot. Definitely an amazing boss, guys. It's always great to have management on your side, especially in situations like this. And seriously, I wonder if she put in the wrong address on purpose, knowing that her food would be cold by the time it got to her. Like, some people are really crafty with trying to get compensation like that. This story happened when I was 11 or 12, so place it in 2000 or 2001. My recently divorced dad had been dating this really cool sweet lady for nearly a year at this point, and she had a son who was only a year younger than me. Their relationship fell apart later, but those details aren't relevant to the story. During this time, their relationship was strong enough that I considered her and her son my stepfamily. We had all gone out to see a movie on this day. It was Jurassic Park 3 opening weekend. The theater we went to had just introduced labeled reserved seating, and Dad had reserved our seats the day prior, so he was able to get all 4 seats right next to each other. From left to right, the seating arrangement was my stepmom, my dad, my stepbrother, and then me. This is relevant for what's coming up later. So me and stepbrother sat down in our seats, and Dad and girlfriend put their jackets in their seats. They wanted to go get everyone some snacks, so Dad asked what we wanted. As they were leaving, Dad asked us to keep an eye on their seats and their jackets. Not long after they left to get snacks, another family of 3 showed up. Our entitled family. They start to sit down next to our seats, but then one of the kids grabbed stepmom's jacket and threw it on the floor and sat in her seat. He and his brother were both teenagers, and they were much bigger than either of us 2 kids. Regardless, we were in charge of guarding those seats and jackets, so I got up to see if maybe they got into the wrong seats. I say to the kid, "Hey, sorry, but can you check your ticket stub for your seat? This theater has reserved seats, and my stepmom's supposed to sit there." To which the kid responds, "No, you have the wrong seats." I asked him, "Are you sure? My dad has our stubs, and I'm pretty sure these 4 seats are for us." The kid then says, "I don't care, kid. Get out of my face. I will sit here if I want." Now, the mom, having overheard the conversation, says, "What's going on? Why are you bothering my kids?" I say to her, "I'm just trying to see if maybe you guys have the wrong seats and want to see if maybe you can move over 1 seat since he's sitting in my stepmom's reserved spot." Now, I was quite surprised when the mom backs up her boys and said that this was indeed their seats. The boys then began to swear at us 2 kids, and I decided there's nothing I can do about them until Dad comes back. I then asked the kid if I can at least pick up my stepmom's jacket that he threw on the floor. The kid ignores me, so I say, "Excuse me, can I at least pick up that jacket?" The kid says no, so I tried picking up the jacket anyway, and the boy starts trying to kick my arms and head as I was bending over trying to pick up my stepmom's jacket, screaming, "Stop trying to touch me." Their mom then screams at us to leave my kids alone. I then say, "Okay, I'm gonna sit down, but my parents are on their way back." I sit down without getting the jacket. My stepbrother then says to me, "So what are we gonna do?" I tell him, "We're just gonna have to wait till Dad and your mom come back." So 10 minutes later, Dad and Mom comes back and notices that the kid's sitting in stepmom's chair. I explain everything, and he goes and confronts the woman. Dad says to the woman, "Hey, did your kid throw my girlfriend's coat on the floor and take her seat?" The mom says, "These are our reserved seats, and her coat was in my son's seat, so he had every right to move it. But he threw it onto the nasty floor instead of just handing it to my son right there. He wouldn't even let my son pick up the jacket off the floor. He tried to kick my son in the head when he tried to pick it up." The mom then says, "Your little brat of a son was trying to assault my child, and the other snot-nosed kid," pointing to my stepbrother, "got up and started cheering him on, saying, 'Bite him, bite him.'" I said to her, "No, he stayed quiet in his seat the whole time." And she says, "No, they're lying. Your kids were trying to attack my children." Now, Dad knows that's something I wouldn't do, and he says, "I highly doubt that. Anyway, your son needs to move since that's my girlfriend's spot." The woman screams at him saying, "No, I reserved these seats." At this point, my dad pulls the ticket stub out of his pocket, and he says, "No, the seat number matches what's on her stub," and he tries to show the woman. Seeing the ticket, the woman tries to snatch the stub away from my dad, saying, No, that's wrong." An employee, having witnessed the tail end of the commotion, says, "What's going on? Is everybody okay? What can I do to help?" The woman says, "No, we're not okay. This family of degenerates is trying to steal one of our seats." She then points at me and says, "That one tried to assault my kids. And that one," pointing to Dad, "took one of my son's ticket stubs away. When I tried to show him proof, he's even holding it in his hand." Dad then explains to the employee that no, this is my girlfriend's ticket stub. I was trying to show her that the seat numbers match up, and they threw my girlfriend's jacket on the floor, and the kid sat in her seat. The employee says, "Okay, first off, I need to see everybody's ticket stubs to confirm that they're accurate, and that no mistakes were made in the system." Dad, being the one who has all the ticket stubs, pulls them out all at once and shows the employee. The employee says, "Okay, these match up." He then turns to the woman and says, "May I also see your group stubs?" Now, it was at this point that the woman's face goes white, and she says, "No, I threw them away after they tore the tickets from them. Why would I keep them?" The employee then says to her, "But you just said that this gentleman here snatched one of your stubs away." You could see the Karen stammering her words a bit, and she says, well, except for that one. I saved that one. He then says to her, ma'am, we instruct our patrons to keep their stubs for this very reason. And since they have their stubs and you don't have any, I'm going to assume that you either did throw away your stubs or you didn't buy any tickets at all. All three members of the entitled family started to look panicked at this point, and she says, I want to speak to your manager. This is absurd. The employee then tells her, I am the manager, ma'am. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. She says, no, we are sitting here. I have reserved these seats. He then tells her, without proof of purchase, we really don't know, do we? I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, ma'am. And she screams, I'm not moving. I'm not. It was at this point when one of her sons stands up and says, Mom, I think we need to go before they call security or something. And the woman screams, no. So of course the manager calls security over his radio and explains the situation. 2 minutes later, security arrives, and he says, what group needs to be escorted out? The woman points at us and says, that group. They stole our seats and assaulted me and my kids. The manager says no, it's this woman and her family. They're the ones causing commotion. Could you please escort them off the property? It was at this point that the mom gets up and walks straight towards me and says, if you hadn't said anything, we could have watched the movie in peace. This is all your fault. She then throws a full 20-ounce bottle of Coke at me, and she hits me directly in the eye. And of course, that puts my dad in a rage, and he rushes over to the woman screaming, how dare you throw that at my son? I'm calling the police. The woman and her family bolted for the exit, and the security guards following them. The manager asked me if my eye was okay, and I told him my eye hurts, but I think I'm alright. Security then radios the manager saying, we caught up to them, and the police are on their way. We were then asked to leave too, so police can ask questions when they arrive. The police arrive 20 minutes later, and they start taking our stories. With so many witnesses, it was obvious who was at fault. My dad ended up pressing charges against her, and the police took that woman away in a police car after the additional questioning. I don't know what happened to the two kids. During the ordeal, we ended up missing most of the movie, so the theater offered to give us free tickets to another showing, and he accepted. We ended up going back to finally see the movie the very next weekend, with thankfully one less encounter with an entitled mother. I had to ask Dad what eventually happened to her, and he told me that she got like half a year in jail for assaulting a minor, and he was pretty sure she was banned from that movie theater. Guys, I am shaking my head so hard at this. 6 months in jail and a lifetime ban. All because she couldn't be bothered to reserve her own damn seats, or even go sit somewhere else. And seriously, if you're a full-grown adult, and you think it's wise to throw a full bottle of Coke at an 11-year-old's face, you deserve jail time. You know if she's throwing Coke bottles at random 11-year-old kids, that her kids might be getting it pretty bad at home. Somebody needs to call CPS on that woman. And that, my friends, is r/EntitledPeople. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the stories today. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. It's a crazy story where a Karen gets jailed for accidentally assaulting OP. Well, not accidentally, she assaults OP, and she gets jailed for it. It's such a crazy story, so go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.